Today we'll be creating Caddy, who is one of the main characters of our game, which is actually named after him. Caddy is a cat who works as a waiter inside of our tea house, making sure all of your completed orders make their way to the customers. Not only is he a great server, but he's also a very talented tea master who'll be teaching you how to prepare and make the best teas to upkeep the tea house's great reputation. In this video, I'll be focusing on how I designed Caddy, starting off with his concept design, then pixel art process, and finally a showcase of him in-game. So let's get started. From the beginning, I knew that I wanted to create a cat within the game. This is actually a sketch I made back in 2021 in July. Originally, the cat didn't have an important role. Even in this sketch, he was just there sitting looking pretty, adding to the ambience of the tea house. But after fleshing out the game more and coming to the conclusion that I wanted to make a cooking game, that's when I decided that I wanted to make the cat the waiter of the shop, because then it gives him that authority where he can check the recipes you make before you serve them. So he technically gets the last say whether or not it's served. I think that plays really well into his storyline being your tea master. For Caddy's design, I wanted to merge my two favorite animals together, cats and fishes. His prominent shape is a cat, however he has hints of fish-like appendages across his design. Instead of having cat whiskers, I replaced them with catfish barbells. Wait, catfish? Hold up, I just realized I'm doing some reverse evolutionary engineering, because these fishes were named after cats because of their barbells resembling cat whiskers, and now I'm making a cat that has barbells from the fish that was named after cats. I love fishes and cats. Anyways, he also has fins for eyebrows and behind his paws for that extra aquatic dynamic movement. After I finished the draft, Caddy was looking a little bit too mature, and I wanted to add some more cutesy essence to it so that he wouldn't look strange making cartoonish, exaggerated expressions. Like, imagine if Wolflink was making derpy expressions. That wouldn't really fit for his character design. Now when you look at characters such as Pikachu and Kero, they're a lot cuter, so they get away with those funny, silly expressions without feeling out of place. So I adjusted the initial draft to make Caddy look younger and cuter. It now looks kinda like his pre-evolved version. Now that I'm happy with the style, I started drawing some different poses to explore how he would express himself to reflect his personality. Caddy is a divine creature who lives a lot longer than humans and has taught many tea apprentices over generations, to the point where he's actually become very knowledgeable but easily bored, because you're like his 100th or so pupil, and his teaching methods have kind of become a little bit lazy and overall a lot more childish and dramatic, as it seems like he just wants to have fun these days. I try to strike a balance in his personality, as I really like the mystique that black cats hold and the idea of having a fun comedic companion to assist you on your journey. Because of this duality, I really had to reflect that in the design by having some expressions that look more realistic to his design and some with a more animated, exaggerated expression to capture his silly, goofy and dramatic side. Like, you could get some life-changing advice from Caddy one day, and then next you'll be wondering how natural selection hasn't got the best of him yet. These portraits will come in handy when I make the dialogue system, but for now I can use these expressions and ideas to help me design the in-game version of Caddy. So let's dive into the pixel art. I started off with an outline to get the shapes I wanted, and I'm trying my best to translate the concept art into pixels, but it's not going to be a one-to-one replication, as there's just not enough space to achieve that level of detail. The lock, for example, is a pretty intricate shape, but for the pixel art, I just wanted to get the general idea across that it's a lock. And the main feature of a lock is the keyhole, so I just left a gap in the middle of the necklace to get that message across. In the end, I was able to translate most things from the design except the eyebrows, because with them they made the face look way too busy. Now for his first pose, I started off with the idle animation. When animating his tail, I thought of the tail as three different joints: the base, the middle, and the end of the tail. The base joint is where the cat controls the tail, and all of the following joints simply move in accordance with it, but they do move a bit behind it, and this is called delayed reaction. If there was no delayed reaction, then every joint would follow each other perfectly in a straight line. When I start off the animation, I use a thin line to represent the tail just to get the motion right. This was my first attempt, and the animation was pretty fluid, but it was a little too active for my liking, and I wanted a more subtle look. Then I tried flipping the tail around to make it look more dynamic, but it just ended up becoming this lethal, unwieldy whip that will send you flying if you walk in proximity of it. It also looks like the tail is sweeping dust off the table, so it really wasn't gonna cut it. Then I made whatever this abomination was. And whenever you hit an all-time low, that's when things start to get better, because my next one was kinda decent. It had the spirit for sure. I think the biggest thing was that I stopped having the tail past Caddy's body. By having the endpoint earlier, the tail doesn't move as much, and it goes back and forth just the right amount, creating this calm and soft motion. In the end, I ended up going for that more stylized look where the tail constantly stays curved and rounded, helping the movement look more bouncy. And I really like maintaining that curved shape because it just gives a lot more character to Caddy, so I always want to have it shown. For his whiskers, I really wanted them to move in a flowing motion as if it was moving underwater, to accentuate the fact that he's half fish. It also gives him that otherworldly feeling. To achieve this motion, I analysed how a simple wave animation would look like. A wave has a high point and a low point where they move in a direction. Each frame that moves in that direction are spaced evenly until the high and low point match up again, creating a seamless cycle that can be looped. Since the whiskers is 7 pixels long, I want to make sure to maintain it throughout the animation. So I put a bar at the end of each whisker so that I wouldn't pass the 7 pixels. Now for every frame that I animate, I translate the whisker to the left and draw where the next pixel would enter, which is simple because the wave just follows a pattern, so I replicate that. I keep the pixel closest to the face the same to ground the animation, because it is attached to his face. And then of course I erase the pixel that falls in line with that line I drew. And that's how I get this wavy look. But that's not all, because when Caddy breathes, his head moves up and down, so whenever Caddy's head moves down, I make the whiskers closest to him pull down first, and then the joints towards the end of the whiskers follow after because of the delayed reaction. And I do the same for when his head goes back up. Now that we've seen what Caddy looks like when he's idle, how would he look like when he walks? Instead of having Caddy walk on all fours, I wanted him to float around as if he was swimming in water for his walk cycle. Since Caddy is a cat and not a fish, I wanted him to move like other mammals underwater, similar to whales and dolphins. I'm very intrigued by mermaids and how gracefully they swim, so I also use their movements to help me make his walk cycle. I first blocked out a worm-like shape to represent the flow of Caddy's body when he moves. To achieve that worm-like motion, when the front goes up, the back goes down, and vice versa. I then filled in the blocking with the cat's body. In order for him to look like he's trying to swim forward, I lift the legs up to create potential energy so that when they're pushed down, he can use it to propel himself forward. To help direct his motion, I dip his head down so he uses it to guide his direction. Since this is just his walk cycle, I wanted it to be very casual and relaxed, so I kept his arms hanging down and had them tilt slightly to show that they were being swayed by the forward motion of his body. I then put the animation into the game to see how it would look like with the forward direction, and having that forward velocity just helps with the perspective to see if it really looks like he's floating. And I just kept making adjustments and putting it back into Unity to see if the changes looked good, and I just kept tweaking like the coloring and lining and the shapes that he was making when he moved until I was happy with the result. Now that Caddy can move around, it's time to put him to work. As a waiter, he has to carry the orders to the customers, so I started on his serving animation. I put his hands up so that he could balance the order on top of his head, and placed the generic order to represent where it would be held. This is what it would look like for Caddy to serve the order to a customer. It's good, but I want him to be more efficient, because if you as the player worked really hard to complete all the orders on time, I wouldn't want Caddy to fall behind on serving them. So I decided it would be better if Caddy could hold multiple recipes at once, making his trips more optimized. When I stacked all of the orders on top of Caddy, they looked very stagnant and lifeless. And I thought since I already added so much motion to his serving animation by having Caddy literally swimming in the air, holding a bunch of teapots probably wouldn't be the most easiest thing to do. So I wanted to play into that and made the teapots sway back and forth, and I think it's really fun to watch Caddy balance all of those teapots. It looks like they could fall at any moment, but I love that. Bro is so talented. Theoretically, since the teapots are pushing on Caddy's head, his ears would flop down due to the pressure of the teapots. But when I did that, it went from Caddy working because he loves to wake up early and do his job, to a Caddy that is struggling, forced into labor to work 9 to 5, 5 to 9 in this unforgiving capitalistic society. So I decided to keep it the way it was before. As the teapots will inevitably change due to the nature of having different orders and tea combinations, this animation was going to have to be programmed in. Because I have a decent understanding of programming, it's a lot easier for me to communicate to our main programmer Robert how I want something to be implemented. Whenever there is something that is a bit more detail oriented that I want programmed into the game, I like to make specific notes on the implementation. I went through all of the animation frames and calculated all of the necessary transpositions needed to create the swaying animation, and sent it to Robert to implement. And this just makes it a lot easier to work with, because if I just gave Rob the animation and I was like, replicate that, it would be a lot more difficult. So I like to make sure that the pipeline from artist to programmer is as convenient as possible. That being said, in the end there were still some problems we had to resolve with this animation, but hey, it's not always going to be a walk in the park, and what matters is we were able to solve the problem together. Originally I was just going to have Caddy be able to hold a maximum of 3 teapots, but then we thought it would be fun to see Caddy hold an infinite amount. And so I tweaked the animations to make it loop, so that no matter how many teapots there are, it will always sway back and forth perfectly. So I'm in the kitchen right now, but this showcase isn't about Faye, it's about Caddy, so let's check him out in action. There he is, sitting here all mysterious and cute, and he'll just sit here for the time being until we serve something, so let's start cooking. Oh, we already got an order. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some water for the base of the tea. Now that we're starting, I'll just enable enemies to attack. Okay, let me cook this ginkgo leaf. The lilybud tea is the first order, but there's no lilybud enemies, so let's just grab one from the dispenser. Ah, the ginkgo leaf is nearly done. We won't be able to make a gold rank with it since it's not a prime ingredient, but let's try to at least get a green gold star for it. So let's grab it quickly. Oh dang, this lilybud tea is going to be a bit bitter since it cooked for too long. Now we've got another chance to redeem ourselves and make a gold rank tea. Oh my gosh, I wish more lilybud enemies spawn because so many customers want it. And I need all these ginkgo leaves, die! Get out of my way, die! Please spawn more lilybud. Yes, another one spawned. Oh god, we burned the tea. Oh well, screw that kettle. Actually, let's try to serve it and poison one of the customers. This is why I can be a good debugger, because I'm just trying to do random stuff in this game. That's not even intended. Okay, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed right now, so I'm gonna turn the enemies onto passive mode, so they stop trying to kill me. I'm just trying to explain to the people what's going on, okay? Let me do my job. Okay, let's just cook this last tea. I'll make it a silver rank so we can get some variation in the customers' reactions. So let me just quickly grab that now, and let's watch Caddy serve the tea. Oh wait, so sorry, the kitchen is a mess right now. Let me clean it up real quick so I can get a good demonstration in. Oh, see, a customer's already getting impatient. Okay, let's give him his tea. Look, now he's happy now. And look at Caddy go. Go, Caddy, go. Since I've got 2 teapots reserved on the table, let's try to get him to carry 2 at once. But I've got to be quick because I need to have 2 in the tea station before he comes back. Oh no, he's already back. Well, there goes my plan. Okay, let's jump into an alternate timeline. So I might as well show you 3 teapots instead of 2 since I have the resources now. As you can see, he grabs each teapot one at a time so he can do one trip and serve all 3 teapots. Okay, back to the original timeline. Oh wait, screw serving 2 teapots. I wanted to poison one of the customers, but I already served them all. Okay, let's see what happens when we give this to Caddy. I come bearing gifts. Yep, we made Caddy angry. What did you think was gonna happen? No way would he let us serve this. He's trying to get 5-star reviews on Yelp. But he'll also get angry if you give him the wrong order, so even if you did make a correct order that isn't burnt, he will still throw it back at you if no customer ordered it. And I think that wraps up everything for Caddy. So on to the outro. Thanks for watching today's video. Caddy was probably one of the most fun characters to make so far because I've had him in my mind for so long, even before I even created the concept art for him. My first initial idea for him was probably in 2018, so it was really bizarre finally making him, let alone come to life in a game format, because I had no idea what I would use him for. I just knew that I had to bring him into existence somehow. Now that we have the base model for Caddy, I can't wait to expand on him and make different expressions and just make him more livelier to really showcase his personality. I just really like seeing pixel art characters show different expressions because it really brings the world to life. Now that we have completed a large part of the game, the next is dialogue, and I'm really excited for that because it means I can finally take a little break from pixel art and focus on some illustrations. And you guys will get to see how the characters actually look like in their completed form and every little detail that I want to have in their designs that can't be fully seen through the concept / pixel art. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you have any suggestions about the video, I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for any post notifications to stay up to date. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye!